So we're live. We'll wait for a few people to roll in with the This Week in Lumber clip, show number 53. I just made that up, but it's probably pretty close to that. Matt Beymer from Hampton Lumber Sales, Gregg Riley from Sitka, USA. We come on every week through the MX.
You know, we don't come on time every week.
Yeah,
but
last
we do
week,
come on.
Last week was a lot of fun. You know what? A lot of people. So this is part of the MX network, part of MXLumber.com, the only digital platform. Who, by the way, had their largest cheers.
Woo!
Had their largest matching day yesterday in the history of the platform. We had over 1,200 items listed. So
go big or go home.
So we're rolling. So everybody that used us yesterday, thank you so much. A lot of people are starting to watch us on YouTube live too. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. So we're going to jump right into it and talk a little bit about housing starts and housing this week. So you wanted to pull up a chart, right, Greg, and talk a little bit about.
Well,
this?
Let me just first say, I mean, the housing start numbers, they were marginally above the prior month. What I look at is where year to housing starts are up. I've been talking about is houses auction, which is currently 3. Like let's take a look at that chart. I think Nick has it.
So real quick before we shift to that, Billy G, you're in. Good to see you. Saw your whole team down in Louisville. Anybody that's in, come on in and say hi and say where you're from. And if you have any questions, feel free to post them over you cut out for a bit, Greg. So if you want to just maybe talk about that last 30 seconds, Burger, while we bring this chart in.
So starts were up 17% year to date. Permits are up 20% year to date. And houses under construction are the highest they've been since 1973. And that's the chart that I wanted to show.
Cool. That's about 5 years before I was born.
I mean, the most interesting thing when I look at that chart is look at that, the housing boom that we had in the early 2000s. The number of houses under construction now is greater than that. Just as an aside, we've only built 2 million houses twice in the history of this data. One time was back there in the 70s, and the other was in 2005. The other number that I keep looking at is we're at a new record for authorized but not started, which is up 45%. So it just all highlights that, hey, the pipeline for housing is solid. You hear it in the daily reports of earnings calls. Home Depot, Lowe's coming out with great numbers. Repair and remodeling continues to be very strong also.
Yeah, Greg. I mean, I just keep hearing the same thing, and we'll touch on being at the NOLA show how, asking people the question, is business going to be better next year than last year? And everybody's to a T are like, heck yeah, right? So this basically shows what you said is there's only twice that we've been this high before. Obviously, look at this chart, right?
Yep.
Where does that? So you're a technician. Where does that go to?
Well, right now it's still moving higher, and given the fact that what's the biggest thing that's driving this? The prior time that it was there, we were building 2 million housing starts, and right now we're building 1.5 million. This has to do with the fact that cycle time, the amount of time it takes them from the time they start building until they complete it, continues to expand. And that's going to be one of the big things we're going to watch over the next 6 to 9 months. I will say that, with the number of houses that are under construction, at some point in time, I don't know when that's going to be, supply of new houses is going to grow pretty rapidly because there's so much in the pipeline.
No, that's a good point, Greg. So just real quick, dumb this one down for me. So the cycle time obviously is the amount of time it takes from the groundbreaking to when that thing's ready to sell, right?
No, I mean, cycle time is the time a builder starts construction on they foundation until they close.
So is there an accurate? Can you find a chart anywhere from that shows what the cycle time is, whether it's expanding.
Different. It's different by region, and it's different by builder, right? If you're building a 2,000 square foot house on a slab, that cycle time's a lot different than if you're building a 4,500 square foot house, with a finished basement, right?
Gotcha.
So,
Yeah. Yep. Makes absolute sense.
But that's, that'd be good input to get from some of the, some of the builders. I believe that in the builder conference calls, they talk about cycle time because that's a big metric for them.
So basically, if we go back and look at some of their earnings calls, we can you probably get more statistics on the exact cycle times. I'm sure I'm sure that is a metric that they follow, or a KPI that they all look at.
Absolutely,
it makes absolute sense. Well, let's shift to the next one. Lots of information. It seems like when the market dies down, something happens. Duty and mudslides seem to be the conversation this week, right? Matt, what say you on that?
Well, we've been talking about the duty, whether that was going to have any real effect on the price of lumber or not, previously in our conversations, but we didn't anticipate a massive mudslide due to torrential rains. And I mean, hey man, it was so bad in Oregon here that I stopped. There's a waterfall on the Willamette River called Willamette Falls. It's about 7-minute drive from my house. And normally it's like a, 50, 60-foot drop. And it's a natural waterfall that's been there, the Indians were fishing it. The Oregon City is the end of the Oregon Trail, and this is where the falls is. So give you some perspective as to where it is. I filmed it the other day, I think on Friday, after our fourth day in a row of just pounding rain, and the drop was about 5 feet. That's how high the river levels had gotten. We were at flood stage here, and all the rivers, and we're talking massive rivers. The Willamette River's at, anywhere from a quarter mile to a half mile wide through Portland, and big enough for ships to float on. So that thing was like the Mississippi. It was brown. It wasn't the normal steel blue color that we have. It was muddy brown water from all the erosion that was happening upstream. And they got a lot of that rain up in British Columbia too, and it washed out a bunch of freeway and also some railroad tracks. So that routing, the CN and the CP are going to have to make some adjustments how they route cars out of British Columbia, which therefore impacts the flow of material to the United States. And hence you've seen futures up limit yesterday and again today as a result of a disruption in supply.
And Matt, how long do you think that disruption are we going to be on the mend pretty quickly?
I mean, I always think that these things tend to be overblown. Just having done this for so long and knowing that the CN and the CP are going to work their little butts off like busy little beavers to get that track, fixed, right?
Right.
And they'll take other measures too. They'll start trucking material from the mill to a different spot where they can load it and it'll move, right? So there's contingency operations in place that are going to alleviate some of this bottleneck. But if you're wanting to ship lumber from, northern British Columbia, like where our mill is, down to Phoenix right now, or Los Angeles, it's like a West Coast B-call, like the old B-call lines, that's not really going to be your friend. That routing is impacted quite a bit negatively by this washout. If you're just going over the top on the CN over to Buffalo, New York, not really going to impact you, like a CN Chicago, CN Minneapolis, not really going to factor into the routing. But if you're in the desert Southwest, yeah, it's going to impact you negatively.
Yeah. So we hope everybody's safe, everything up there. But is this more of what is said and what's going to actually happen are probably two different things? I mean, it seems like the hype gets up there pretty good.
But Ashley, I mean, one of the things I always see is, there's always something in the market. And, if the underlying didn't support it, we've seen having hurricanes and fires and prices go down when,
right.
You have you have demand not meeting expectation. Matt and I talked a little bit right before we got on, and you kind of felt like there was, you felt like there was something building. You felt like that, right? And so, you want to go? You want to talk? You want to talk about the poll now, Ash?
Let's go down. Let's go down to the survey and talk about that. This is the survey that Greg puts out on LinkedIn. I think you put it out Saturday. You talked about it. We had breakfast and
Yep.
love reading these. So 172 votes so far.
Yeah, we get some pretty good traction. We got a lot of lookers and not as many voters. 3,700 views, 100. But so 172 votes is a pretty decent amount. And as you can see, 10% felt we were going to new lows, or 9%, down to 9%. Okay. 2/3 of the market felt we were going to be 10 to 20% higher, which I felt was the most interesting thing about that was 10 to 20% higher was basically what the January futures was 2 days ago. Okay. If we look at where January futures is now and, where print was when this came out, the market, it's already 30% higher. So we're already into the 17% range. Based on this poll, I think you have to expect that the market's going crazy again.
I started laughing before you even said it because I knew exactly what you were going to say, man. It's like I'm starting to think like you.
I mean, I hate to say it because I just don't think it's healthy for any of us. I mean, I'm glad, Matt, you and I have new tickers. So, that helps. But, damn, this thing is, I feel like the market for the last, year and a half, 2 years has been like I'm driving an Indy car all the time. I got to be gripping the wheel. I got to be gripping the steering wheel, going 200 miles an hour all the time.
Yeah, I mean, and if you look at like what you said earlier about the market reacting to these things, well, why did the market react up limit 2 days in a row? Because people are short material, right? I mean, that's the bottom line. Either they're actively short at the wrong price, or they just need to buy more material because they don't have enough of it in their yard, right? Those are the reasons why people react to the upside, because they have to, not because of any other reason, right? I mean, it's like, hey, I'm just low on wood. I need to buy some more. And then you find out that if you don't buy it now, it's like if you don't buy the toilet paper before Costco runs out, you're not going to get any toilet paper. Well, people all of a sudden feel lumber sort of like toilet paper. I better go run to the phone and buy some.
So,
that's
question,
what's happening.
Well, I mean, Matt, to 1 second, Ash, just to Matt's point. I mean, I felt for the last 3-4 weeks that all of the buying was people were all buying because they had to have the wood, not because they thought the price was great, not because they thought the price was going out, but because they couldn't run out.
Right.
That's what I felt. Go ahead, Ash. I'm sorry.
So I'm just questioning. So, how much spec wood have you guys bought this week?
All of it.
So you guys are net long.
Yeah, I am. I started buying some stuff last week, and I kind of did it like Greg was just talking about, begrudgingly. I wasn't really excited by the prices I was having to pay to go buy more wood. This is for distribution purposes.
Right.
But at the same time, I'd run my inventory down to virtually zero, and I'm like, hey, I've got to do something. I can't just run myself out of business. So I've been buying since last week, and then I noticed, and I think Greg and I, maybe we talked about this last week, but I felt like studs were in the process of bottoming last week. And then I heard some positive information about panels on Monday. And then, here we see lumber. I think you can officially say lumber is probably bottom for this cycle. I think mills are in the process of actually starting to raise prices again on dimensional lumber. So hey, through sheer luck, it's working out in our favor if you're actually buying lumber. But there's some tea leaves that you could have been reading last week, right? Like with the stud thing starting to get, because studs took the biggest correction. Like 9-foot Eastern spruce studs, Greg, you could speak on this. That was probably the one item that corrected the most, right?
Let me think where it went from and where it got to. Yeah, I mean, if I think of what happened, the price went up from the August low about $275, and it probably fell 200.
Right.
And now it's back. And now it's up 100 plus from there. You know,
Right. And nothing like that happened in dimension lumber. Like what I'm paying for 2 before number 3, or 2 before 2 and better. Maybe you got $100, maybe if you were lucky, right? From
you
the
didn't
highs.
get as big a correction.
No.
You talk about how weird the market was. November futures expired on Monday, at 5:36, and open interest went up in an expiring contract, which I can't remember the last time or whether I've ever seen that, because the spread to January was $90. And, I guess the most shocking thing to me is that it didn't go up by more. And so.
Yeah, that's a good point, though. That may be because some people just don't know how to take advantage of it. I heard there was a couple smart people that actually did, Greg.
I heard that too.
Yeah.
I mean, but the funny thing is, I was talking to somebody. I go, yeah, blah blah blah. $90. I go, it just seems like crazy. And he goes, well, but January's already up 20. And I go, yep, you're absolutely right. It was crazy to I should have just bought November and not sold January, right? That's what he's saying.
Yeah, exactly. Well, hey, look, we kind of talked in the market a little bit. Let's talk about NALA. And you had a good point at breakfast the other day. So 700 people there, normally 1,400 people there. The country's kind of split down the COVID line of half people don't want to travel, half people do. The people that wanted to be there. And I put those people up as heroes and type A aggressive personalities, right? So look at everybody that was there. Everybody that was there wanted to mix it up and talk about it. They had a great 2021. They were excited about being at NALA and networking. It was a great event, great speaker at lunch, great sessions, just great.
That guy was awesome, wasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely was. But so I took out of it, people didn't want to put a number on next year of price wise, but they said that business volumetrically will be better and they're preparing for a good year. A couple people were looking for people to work for them. A lot of people. I also got the thing back that a lot of people aren't going back in their offices. Some are working at home. Some are going in their offices. And it's kind of like taking risk. You got to take a lot more risk in this volatility to make more money, right? And that was a theme of, we got to take an awful lot of risk on to make a lot of money, right? So that's kind of the couple of things that I pulled away from it. But there's probably more. Greg, what was your thought?
Well, I mean, one of the things, and we talked about this before we went, is trying to get a sense of the room, so to speak. And I mean, normally I would have taken the fact that everyone was so positive as a negative, but because of like what you mentioned in terms of the makeup of the people that were there, I kind of discounted that. And the other thing was there was disproportionately less solid wood manufacturers and quote unquote traders than there were people on specialty products and programs and more built, even building products as opposed to solid wood.
Yeah, no doubt. A lot of the solid wood traders that normally had booths were just walking around, right? Instead of displaying, so to speak. And and even the mills that were there that were solid wood mills were pushing their specialty products, right?
Yep, absolutely.
But it was a great takeout. So yeah, Matt, you usually go to it, and I saw your crew there, and good overall group all together. We went over the CME. So anything finally you guys want to follow up on before we close it out?
Well, we're next week is Thanksgiving, and are we planning to have a show the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, Ash?
What day is Thanksgiving on?
Thursday.
Let's think.
Well, I just say it as like random, random links.
I'm way behind.
random links. They don't publish a midweek on Thanksgiving. And I mean, you've got a schedule, and I mean,
I think Greg's asking for paid time off. Ashley, you're the boss.
I'm just saying, I'm traveling next week. And I wanted to use this opportunity to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving.
Yes.
And Ashley, aren't you out hunting anyhow?
I'm going to Iowa tomorrow, but I'm back on Sunday.
Oh, okay. All right.
Let's think about it. We'll kick it around, see what we want to do.
Okay.
I completely blanked on that being next week, man.
It is funny how fast November has gone by, right? I mean, my wife told me, "Hey, we're going to your mom's for Thanksgiving next week." I'm like, "Next week? What?"
Yeah, no.
I mean, Christmas is like a month from now, man. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, so look at guys. Thanks for showing.
Well, hey, Matt, that's just the whole thing of like we're getting older, and they say the older you get, the faster time goes by. That's where we're at. I guess Ashley's there too.
Yeah. No, I even heard Mariah Carey the other day. That's the bellwether.
Did you really? She didn't
get Yeah, on the radio. I heard Mariah Carey. I was like, oh my gosh, it must be Christmas time.
Listen, Starbucks has had these are called holiday cups.
Yeah.
They've had them out. They've had them out since Halloween.
There's been a lot of these Christmas songs from back in the day canceled already, so I'm not sure what I can and can't comment on anymore, right? All right. Well, listen, guys, thank you so much. And thanks for coming to mxlumber.com. Look forward to maybe or maybe not joining us next week. And we'll chat some more. Thanks, guys.
I'm available.
Take care. See you guys. I'm available also, Ash. Take care. Bye.